Welcome to Movie Chatter, everybody. We are going to be discussing something that I think hopefully will be a lot of fun, but it's also kind of sad at the same time. As most of you know, Sir, because I've been corrected like eight times now. And by eight, I mean only once, but very emphatically. Sir Sean Connery has passed this last week. I'm sorry, I forgot his middle name. His middle name was...
It's actually Sir Thomas Sean Connery. Sir
Thomas Sean Connery. I will endeavor to get that correct out of respect. But we all know him as Sean Connery. He passed this week. Yes. And so, we were looking for a topic to go over anyway. And we thought we wanted to start doing a few episodes here and there covering a particular director or a particular actor or something like that, which, by the way, we're waiting for you guys to give us feedback on whether you'd like to hear more of those. So we thought, what better time to take a moment and pay our respects to someone who had a massive impact on the film industry and had a wide variety of different films. And so we're going to talk about that today here on Movie Chatter. I'm Erik. I'm joined tonight by Lou and Robin. Robin, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Good. I saw you drinking something, so I thought I'd go to you first because...
Yeah.
I'm a jerk.
Got my little Movie Chatter shirt on because
awesome.
I represent all the time.
Yeah. I don't have Movie Chatter. I've got Movie Chatter underwear on, but I'm not going to show you guys that because there you go. There you go. By the way, you guys can pick those up on store.randomchatter.com. So
Movie Chatter underwear?
No, I made those myself.
Movie Chatter thongs.
I tried, but I couldn't get the whole logo on. So
hey, Sean Connery was a Virgo, by the way. Just saying.
Was he?
I've got all sorts of factoids.
Means because I don't do the whole astronomy thing. But Lou, how are you doing?
I am doing well.
I know it's astrology. I was kidding. Good. How'd your week been?
It was a long week, and I'm glad it's over. I'm glad I'm here with you guys. And next thing I have to look forward to is The Mandalorian tomorrow morning. So yes, it's looking up.
Tomorrow morning. How about in 6 hours?
True. Well, that'll be tomorrow morning.
Well, unless you're on the West Coast. Or unless you're watching this later, in which case it's right now and you should go watch The Mandalorian. And then after you do, you should watch the Outer Rim episode that we are recording Saturday morning, in which we will be discussing this next episode of The Mandalorian. But enough shameless plugs for different things on the Random Chatter Network. Let's actually get into this episode. So, of course, Sean Connery, best known as James Bond. He did a lot of stuff after that. And I know a lot of our younger listeners might not even really know a whole lot about Sean Connery. So I'm going to kick things over to our resident film studies instructor. And Robin, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about Sean Connery, just in summary, as far as a basic biography, and then we'll start getting into his filmography.
Right. So, he was born in Edinburgh,
which is in Ohio, right?
Yeah, actually, there's a couple probably, and served, I believe, served in the Royal Navy, and had this long, amazing life, and where he graced us with so many different types of characters. And obviously, I'm a huge fan. I guess most of our listeners would know him not only as Bond, but as the father of, Indy in the Indiana Jones.
Yep.
Sure. Yep.
I don't want to say trilogy because there were more than three, but some people don't like to own that.
Yeah.
So
let me ask you a quick question about that, Robin, before you move on. Yeah. And I asked Tim and Lou this, and to be fair, I did not know this either. I saw the question on the internet. So Sean Connery played Harrison Ford's father in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. How much older was Sean Connery than Harrison Ford? Without looking it up. You better not be looking it up. I see you looking around.
No, I'm looking at Lou.
Well, Lou already answered on Random Chatter. I'm asking you, Robin.
I already got
yeah.
this wrong the other night. So
yeah, you were close-ish.
I don't know. Lou, let me cheat off of
Robert,
you.
No, I can't. I'm sorry. My honor code does not allow me to do
2 years.
That.
I don't know.
I think that Lou got closer than Tim did. 2 years difference between Sean Connery and Harrison Ford.
I don't know. That was a dumb guess.
12 years.
Well, you know, he was a very popular man.
He looked a lot older than Harrison Ford at the time. And I don't know if that's he looked older or Harrison Ford looked younger, or if it was makeup or what, but
I think a little bit of makeup and a little bit of just the way they looked,
Yeah.
So I mean, Connery looks very distinguished. He always has.
Right.
He has that, I won't say older look, but a very distinguished seasoned look, I guess I'll say, right?
Well, and when you've got a beard, especially when it gets to the point where it's salt and peppered, and then you're next to someone who's about the same age but is clean shaven, you will always look older than the person who's clean shaven. Just about.
But
like, even though I am so old, you look older than me sometimes with that, gray beard you have.
Well, and also anytime I speak, I'm wiser. So there's that too. People would never know how much older you are than like Robin and I combined. Like they wouldn't even, the math involved. But Robin, you were saying.
Well, but even, if you think about this, he starred in Dr. No in 1962, right?
Was that the first? I should be clear. I know nothing about James Bond. My first James Bond movie was Roger Moore, and I never went backwards from that point. I literally have not seen the Sean Connery James Bond movie, and I know I'm going to get hate mail on that. Yeah, not a single one. But so, Robin, was Dr. No the first of the Bond movies?
That was his first.
Okay.
So that's all I'm going with there. And he looks, if you look at the pictures of him, he's only at that point 32, but he looks older. So I think he just carried an older continence. And I don't know why, but he's always looked older to me. But yeah, so as far as I can see, Dr. No, let me answer that question. Well, talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah, well, Dr. No was the first James Bond movie he was in, but I think wasn't George Lazenby?
Yeah.
The first James Bond.
Yep.
I have literally never heard that name before in my life that I'm aware of.
Her Majesty's Secret Service.
No, that wasn't. No, so Dr. No was earlier than that. So yeah, so on Her Majesty's Secret Service was 69.
So
he's got a long list. Goldfinger was 64. Dr. No was 62.
Right.
Oh, and then he had stuff before that too. Well, most of them were TV movies, it looks like.
Dr. No.
Yeah. Yep.
There it is.
Oh, here we go. Now, see, I'm continuing to scroll back past the Bond stuff. This is probably the earliest thing I think I've seen him in. I'm scrolling through just to make sure. But Darby O'Gill and the Little People.
Really? I've never seen that.
So it's about this guy. It takes place in Ireland. This older guy, and he, hangs out at the local pub all the time and blah, blah, blah. And he's kind of like the local, not really drunkard, but the guy who's always at the bar, who's always telling the tall tales and all that. And he catches a leprechaun. And for the time it came out, because it was, 50s? 1959. Yeah. Like to actually get a leprechaun on screen, like someone dressed up in a leprechaun outfit. And so the special effects at the time were pretty impressive. But Sean Connery played, so this guy had a daughter and he played the fiance to his daughter. And so he gets 3 wishes from the leprechaun, and it kind of goes through the whole movie. It was actually pretty good. I imagine it's aged well. If you're ever curious, it's probably worth watching.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that was the earliest thing I've seen him in. What about you, Robin? You know how far back you go?
I have seen every movie he has made except for one. And even this weekend when I was preparing
there's a long list here.
Show, I know. Then when I was movie, not movie, not
TV movies, right?
No, movie.
Okay. Well,
even when I was preparing for this, I ran across one that I hadn't seen, so I watched it.
Wow. I am not that good.
So you've seen everyone except one. What was the one that you have not seen?
I have to pull up his IMDb. Tell you, talk amongst yourselves.
Robin.
Don't ask me follow-up questions.
Up in front of you.
Right?
One would think.
She is a walking IMDb, Lou.
She is.
She is. You could ask her any movie question, any movie trivia question.
And I will say, hang on, let me look it up.
And she will have it right in her head with the help of Google.
No, I saw that. No. Oh, Highlander.
What?
Wow. Okay. So let's start.
That's the only movie I have of Sean Connery's that I haven't seen.
We're going to come back to that. Lou, what was the earliest Sean Connery movie?
We're starting there.
On this list that you've seen?
The earliest thing I've seen him in was Dr. No.
Okay. All right. So
yeah, I've seen the older James Bond stuff. Like you, Erik, my first one was Roger Moore. He's my first James Bond. But I went back and saw all the Sean Connery stuff.
Are you calling me lazy? Is that what?
No.
Is that what that was?
Say no. No, I wasn't calling you out. I was just stating a fact. I mean,
Okay.
And some people, your first James Bond is the one you like the most, and you don't go back and watch the other ones. And
yeah, kind of like your first girlfriend.
Some of them, they age well, some don't. So, I mean, they're an acquired taste.
Okay. Sorry. There were a lot of girlfriend jokes I wanted to make there, and I just lost all of them. Okay. Well, let's start with James Bond then, unless, Robin, there's anything pre-James Bond that you want to talk about, anything you feel is worth discussing.
No.
Okay. All right. I would say,
the one I want to discuss.
If someone wants to see something with Sean Connery that you haven't seen before, I would recommend watching Darby O'Gill and the Little People. It's interesting, and yet it's also kind of mostly lighthearted. There are some darker moments in it, but it's a Disney film. It's from 1959. It's for adults. It's not a Disney kids film. And it's worth checking out. But let's go to Dr. No. And I'm going to let you guys steer the ship here for a while because, again, James Bond, all I know is that he's got a lot more gadgets than I do. He has a lot more money than I do. He's had a lot more dates than I have. Though some of them aren't even really dates. James Bond. I am the furthest thing from James Bond that you could possibly conceive.
But the thing is,
I'm white and I'm male and I'm old, and that's about all I've got there. Otherwise, polar opposites.
You don't have the accent though.
I don't. And I'm not even going to insult anyone across the pond by attempting to do an accent.
I won't either.
It would be so bad.
So, I'm going to do an accent later when we get to, one of my favorite movies. But
it's okay, because I got one of these. Little mute button I can use.
But I think what's important about, and I don't think James Bond was Sean Connery's greatest role. I think that is the series of 7 films was just, where he sort of planted himself and became, extremely sought after in terms of filmmaking.
And I think he grew a lot more after that, though, too. I mean, those films were good, and it gave him a start, and it gave him a great stage to put himself on, because James Bond movies were, very well received. But he's done so much other better stuff since then.
Well, as an actor, I mean, James Bond is great as a platform, as a franchise, but unless there was something radically different from the James Bond stuff that I haven't seen, from Roger Moore on, it was all a bunch of silly, goofy, nonsensical, silly goofiness. Like it's not the kind of thing that you want as an actor to kind of launch a career to be taken seriously. Now, financially speaking, franchise, and now it's a massive franchise. It's continued to grow over time. So It's a good career move, but artistically speaking, there wasn't a lot of. I can't imagine it was really challenging for him as an actor. I mean, maybe the stunts and stuff, but even then you had stunt people and you had special effects. So like what was, it's not that surprising to find that all of his best roles were after James Bond, I guess is all I'm saying. Where he could actually shine as an actor.
Yep.
Nobody ever won an Academy Award for a James Bond portrayal.
No, but it's interesting. One of his lesser well-received movies, The Name of the Rose, was actually the movie he won an Academy Award for. So
he also won Best Supporting Actor in The Untouchables, didn't he?
Funny. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. But so, I mean, as the
did he win
Best Actor?
Best Actor, right, for The Name of the Rose?
Yeah, and so that's So it's just very interesting the way obviously awards work, but just the way, I mean, it was a good movie. I mean, I think he's stellar in anything he's in, but it wasn't the thing that I would be like, oh yeah, of course, Sean Connery won for that.
Right.
No, he's done a lot better things.
I remember seeing that movie shortly after it came out. I haven't seen it since, but I remember that it was really good. So
do you have a favorite Sean Connery movie, gentlemen?
Let's talk about that. I do want to get through the kind of the chronological list here, but Lou?
I've got a couple that I really, really like him in.
Okay. And we'll dive into them in a minute when we get to them, but
sure. So yeah, let's just kind of go forward from there. I mean, we can talk about them now if you want, but I mean,
well, just, what are the ones that, like, if you had to pick your top three off the top of your head?
Hunt for October, Medicine Man, and Rising Sun.
Okay. I would probably pick The Untouchables. And I guess probably The Rock.
Ooh.
It was really good despite having Nicolas Cage. I was really pleasantly surprised. And while I think he did really well in Hunt for Red October, I think I enjoyed Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade more. So I think, not saying it's his best films, but those would be my three favorites, the ones that I would be interested in rewatching above anything else. And what about you, Robin?
Right. So top on my list has got to be The Hunt for Red October. But like, just because I watch it and rewatch it and rewatch it. He is like, there's like this trio of movies. I love The Rock. I loved him in The Rock. It's just one of those outstanding things. I kind of forgot about Medicine Man. Yeah, I mean, no, I'm not going to go with that one. But I used to love Entrapment.
Okay.
And then I sort of rewatched it a few times and went, yeah, he was good, but the movie wasn't great, right? And so, and then I just sort of settled into, I'll just watch whatever Sean Connery is in.
You became one of those.
But the rest, I did. I became one of those.
Okay.
See, when I pick my favorite Connery movies, I'm picking ones that I think he had a bigger role in than not. So as much as I like Indiana Jones, I don't consider that a Sean Connery movie.
Right.
That's fair.
He wasn't the main thing. He was a big part of it. And it was a great movie, but
okay.
I think, Rising Sun, Medicine Man, those are movies that he had a huge role. Even Red October was not a huge role for him because he wasn't the main guy. But
true. Okay. Well, what I want to do, I want to kind of take this in sections. Let's take everything through, we'll say the 70s for now, because then he had some bigger blockbuster hits through the 80s. I'm going to let you guys kind of scroll over IMDb and look through there, and we're going to hit some of the bigger movies as we go along. The chat room really quick. Carrie wanted to point out that Darby O'Gill and the Little People is available on Disney Plus. So easy way to get it there. Let's see what else.
It's not really politically correct to call them little people, though, is it? I mean, that's just, just saying.
Actually, that is, I'm almost certain that's exactly what they want to be called.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, like Warwick Davis actually has been someone who has been very proactive in supporting, the hiring of little people as actors and stuff like that. And my understanding, and people out there, forgive me if I'm incorrect on this, I've heard him say a few times, I believe that is the preferred way to refer to that group.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
as opposed to, hey, weak way, give me a drink.
The one like culturally, like socially activism sort of thing that they got right in the 50s, the one thing, and then it completely just got forgotten about. Go figure. All right. So looking through the 70s, in everything leading through the 70s, again, I'm going to let you guys kind of take the reins here because the only one I've got is 1959's Darby O'Gillen, The Little People. There's a lot of James Bond stuff here. I have not seen The Man Who Would Be King. I have not seen A Bridge Too Far. I've not seen The Great Train Robbery. I have not seen the original Murder on the Orient Express that came out the year I was born.
What's wrong with you?
I was like 0 years old at the time, Robin. Okay? I'm still too young for Murder on the Orient Express.
And I'm right there with Erik. I haven't seen most of these movies. The James Bond stuff I have. I saw A Bridge Too Far years ago, but I don't remember much of it. Okay. And that's really it. I mean, I don't have a lot of experience with his movies back in the 70s.
Well, Robin has seen everything he's done. So this is definitely an area where she is going to trounce us in knowledge. Robin, if you look at this collection here, and as we go into more modern times, I think we're gonna pause on certain specific milestone movies as we go along. But looking at this,
what list are you guys looking at?
What are the takeaways here? His filmology on IMDb.
Yeah.
So
somehow I'm not getting it, but okay.
Well, I can.
I'm not getting them in order. I'm getting them in known for. So I'm having to scroll significantly.
So down below, are you on your phone?
No.
Okay.
I'm on my iPad.
No. It's giving you the mobile version of it probably. After the known for, there's a separate section for filmography.
Okay.
And then it'll break it up by actor, producer, director, etc., and it would be under actor. I'm sorry. I didn't know you didn't have the list up, or I wouldn't have thrown it over to you. Lou, which of his... Sorry about that. Awkward. Lou, which of his James Bond movies stood out to you more so than the others?
Dr. No was the first one. That one is always kind of special to me. But You Only Live Twice was really good. Thunderball I didn't really care for too much. Goldfinger was good. I mean, Goldfinger's a classic.
That's the one everybody says I have to watch.
Yeah.
It is a classic. I really like From Russia with Love.
Oh, yeah, too, yeah.
So as someone who hasn't seen any of Sean Connery's Bond movies, is there one, if I'm only going to watch one, because honestly, I like the current run of Bond stuff because it's a little more realistic, but the whole older goofiness thing, it just, Because in part probably because there's been so many ripoffs over the years too. But like,
the Connery ones weren't as lighthearted or goofy as some of the ones from the 80s. I mean, Timothy Dalton and who's the other guy?
Pierce Brosnan eventually.
Pierce Brosnan. Those got very, weird, inside jokey and kind of whatever.
Right, tongue in cheek.
That's why it was a really good departure to go to the Daniel Craig stuff. I'm like, wow, these are what we should have had a long time ago.
Right, and I love those. So if you had to pick one that I'm going to watch and either say, okay, I did it, I jumped in, I tried the Sean Connery thing, or maybe that would make me say, oh, wow, these are actually pretty good. Maybe I should catch all of them. If you had to pick one recommendation, what would it be?
I'd say Goldfinger.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay.
I'd say From Russia with Love.
So
now you have to watch two.
Good choices. Yeah,
oh, no, I don't. It's called Getting a Coin and Flipping It. And I know coins are rare commodities these days. I didn't have a lot of them to start out with, but I can go and find someone on the street, beat them up, tear their mask off, grab one of their coins and flip it. And then I only have to watch one movie. I know it sounds like a lot of work to go through, but listen, I'm committed. Okay.
Sounds like it.
It's worth it. So
yeah, I can see. Yeah.
Random Chatter Network does not endorse the beating and or removal of masks of other people on the street.
Yeah. Can you stop that?
Yeah. So that's a whole different topic. That's not for coins, though. All right. So moving into the 80s then, just to give Robin a reprieve because she does not have a chronological list here.
Well, honestly, that's when you enter into the movies like The Untouchables, Memories of Me, The Presidio, another great movie, performance, right?
But going into that, though, before we get there, I know Lou has seen this, and I know, Robin, you're going to roll your eyes. But I guess you must have seen it because you've seen all of his stuff. Time Bandits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You remember Time Bandits?
Yeah.
I saw that shortly after it came out, and I loved that movie. I don't even really remember him being in it that much, but what a goofy, messed up movie.
Yeah.
So it was fun.
It was. So let's see, that's another James Bond movie. So Highlander really, I think, was one of the first big mainstream non-James Bond movies, at least of the 80s. This was the first one.
86. Yeah.
Yep. 1986.
Outland was a sci-fi movie he did that was pretty well received, but that was right around time when Aliens came out, and it was after Star Wars, and it was a whole
I don't think I've seen Outland.
80s thing when everybody was trying to do sci-fi stuff.
Right.
And Outland was he a marshal? Was he the guy running the place of a
It says Marshal William T. O'Neill. So
Marshal, yeah.
Okay, so he was
a marshal.
Yeah.
So what was the basic summary of it? What was?
It was a mining colony, and it was horror-esque, wasn't it, Robin? It's been a long time since I've seen it.
It has been a long time. But
Federal Marshal stationed in a mining colony on Jupiter Moon Io uncovers drug smuggling conspiracy. Yeah, so it's police in space type thing. But yeah, there was one vivid scene where they put a guy into an elevator and then depressurized it. Yeah, it was kind of rough.
That's where you learned to space people.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where you got it from.
It's right up my alley.
Wow. So it's one of those things where you go back to childhood traumas, and then it traumatizes you so bad you seek it out again as an adult. And for you, that's your thing.
That's my thing.
For those who don't get the inside joke, anytime there's an opportunity for Lou to space a character in a video game or something, or if there's a scene in a movie where somebody gets, pushed through the airlock and sucked out into space. That's Lou's thing.
Pushing the airlock button.
Yeah, Lou wants to be that guy. Did you ever watch Avenue 5?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I that must have been just the pinnacle.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So back to the list here, though. Highlander. The first Highlander I thought was okay, but the second one where they kind of retconned it and made it a whole sci-fi thing. Wow, did that just derail what could have been otherwise a good franchise? I think it was the attempt to franchise it, though, that really messed that up. But I'm a little surprised that you haven't seen Highlander. Have you seen Highlander 2?
No.
So there's two Sean Connery
two
movies.
All
right. I consider them the same thing.
Oh, no. You consider them the same thing because you haven't seen them. If ever there was a dichotomy between a movie and its sequel as far as whether fans loved or hated it, even more so than Star Wars fans with the original trilogy versus the prequels, or either of those versus the sequels, I would dare say Highlander versus Highlander 2.
Yeah.
Probably the bigger war.
Very, very divisive. And, I'll say this too. So different topics, but I saw it in the theater, and when I saw it, the projection screwed up.
Yeah.
In the first 5 or 8 minutes of the movie, we didn't have video. We had spotty sound, and it comes on, and we're like, and the movie is just disjointed enough to begin with, and it puts you in a different scenario than you were with the first movie. And now you're like, what is going on here? I missed the first 5 minutes of the movie. I'm like, why do we know what we're doing here?
You must have thought they had the wrong reel.
I know. We did.
It was a different movie that they started playing.
Or what's going on here? Yeah.
Wow.
Very bizarre.
It's imagine, Robin, taking something like Lord of the Rings. Well, that's a trilogy, but, bear with me. And then they release a sequel series where you find out that Sauron is a space alien and that, like, everything that took place there, like all of the elves were, I don't know, genetically designed in these vats and stuff. And the dwarves all came from a planet with higher gravity than Earth. And that's why they're so short. And like, it just, the ultimate bad retconning of an entire mythology set up in the first movie. And the first movie, Lou, I think you'd agree, was pretty good.
Oh, yeah. No, I really liked the first movie. So
you should watch it, Robin.
I don't think so. Thank you.
Okay. That's fine.
I'll do it on a dare.
The first one. No, well, I mean, I don't think
the first one you should watch.
Yeah,
you'll like
legitimately, we're not trying to sucker you into anything. We both think you would probably enjoy it. The second one, don't touch it, please. Like, I would love to torture you with it, but even I'm not that cruel. Like, we're talking 2001: A Space Odyssey level of me wanting to bash it. So, which, that means there are 3 Sean Connery movies that are on my worst films of all time list. Wow.
I don't know that I'm liking where this is going here.
Yeah. This is going to be an interesting episode. All right. Is this
a roast of our beloved Sean Connery?
No, it's not like it's a Nicolas Cage episode. The Presidio.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That was the one with Meg Ryan, right? And what is it? Was it Dennis Quaid? Or am I thinking of something else?
No, it was Mark Harmon.
You're
right.
something else.
Yeah. Mark Harmon, Meg Ryan.
Meg Ryan.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, Meg Ryan. Okay, yeah.
Okay. All right, that one I remember being good.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed that one.
Mm-hmm.
We mentioned The Untouchables already. That was a big movie for him.
Oh, I skipped over that one. That one was, I have to say, that was the one movie where I really feel like he demonstrated what a good actor he is. There was something about, at least that was the first time I saw it. I'd seen both the Highlander movies. I'd seen The Name of the Rose. I'd seen a few other things, and I think I saw the Presidio before I saw The Untouchables, actually. But his character really just kind of popped out for me in that. So I'm glad that he got Best Supporting Actor for that. But that was a really good movie. I haven't watched that movie in ages. Like, as far as like those crime mobster type movies, to me, that one kind of stands out.
It was a good movie. It's just not my kind of movie to want to watch over and over again. So
yeah, I don't know that I'd rewatch it. I mean, I might now because it's been like a decade or two since I've seen it, probably 2. And it doesn't have the same feel as things like, it's the really long one with Joe Pesci and Ray Liotta.
Yeah.
Why can I not remember the name of that movie? I feel like an idiot
say
now.
Godfather. I know it's not.
No, not Casino. Carrie.
No.
Goodfellas. Thank you, Fatmatic, in the chat room. Goodfellas.
Yep, that's it.
Like, to me, I'd rather rewatch Goodfellas. There have been other. I'd actually rather watch The Sopranos. But especially for the time, I thought it was pretty good.
So it brings us up to Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Great movie. Played, Harrison Ford's father, which the casting was perfect. I mean, they looked good together on screen. They both had a good stage presence, I thought, and they're both believable as the archaeologists doing their thing kind of type stuff. So yeah, it was a good fit.
It's really interesting to have 2 actors with such strong presences where as soon as they walk on screen, they command your attention, and then both of them having to play off of one another in an antagonistic sort of way. And their chemistry was just really, really good.
Oh, yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but looking over this list, is that the closest thing that Sean Connery ever got to doing a comedy? I mean, he had some really comedic moments in that movie.
Well, he did in The Rock too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, The Rock had some comedic stuff going on.
Okay.
I think it's just he brings that Scottish sort of dry sense of humor. Because I think of him as just sort of he's not known for comedy. He's not known for this. He's not known for that. He is just this jack of all trades sort of actor.
Mm-hmm.
Right. If you need someone to carry a film, even if it's a weak film, and you need somebody who's believable in that role, then you're gonna pick an actor like Sean Connery.
And yet there are 2 times at least where that failed. But we'll come back to that.
Okay.
That I'm told that's called foreshadowing.
Certainly not in The Rock.
Certainly not in The Rock, and certainly not in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Great Nicolas Cage movie.
To me, I feel like Indy and the Last Crusade, there was comedy written into it that wasn't just about Sean Connery's delivery, and yet his delivery of that comedy worked really, really well. And it stands out to me. Like, there were funny moments in The Rock, but I think Indiana Jones, his character was specifically a foil to Harrison Ford's in a way that was supposed to be like kind of comedic relief for the most part. The bumbling old professor.
Yeah, again, he was the Gracie, right, to Harrison Ford, and Harrison Ford had all the lines, carried the comedy.
Sure.
He just was what he was. He was the absent-minded professor who is, completely focused on his craft, his discipline.
But there were some really strong timing moments, I think, that Connery really nailed in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, Lou, why don't you take us through the 90s?
Let's see here. I was looking at a couple of things here going on.
I'm sorry. Man, I'm doing a horrible job tonight of like tossing things over to you guys.
I was ready
when you guys are completely on the wrong screens and stuff. And
No, I'm back.
I'm sorry.
So, in the 90s, I mean, I think the first thing that stands out to me wasn't even a big role that he had, but the uncredited role he had of King Richard in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a great ending to have him come out as the king. Like, oh my God, that's perfect. It was like,
and this was back in the days before the internet. So nobody really, like, you go to the theater and you sit through it. And then at the end, unless you had a friend tell you, it was a surprise. Yeah. That would never happen today.
No, exactly. But it was a lot of fun seeing that.
Yeah.
But then this comes into the movies that I like him in. So, I mean, Medicine Man, Rising Sun were 2 great movies. I don't know, who was the co-star with him in Medicine Man?
We skipped over Hunt for Red October.
Oh, we did, didn't we?
Yeah, let's talk about that. Yeah,
1990.
1990.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was thinking it was 80.
Yeah, I'll pull up Medicine Man and look at that. But let's talk because that was really one of his other like really, really, really big roles.
Well, it was a very, very and
yet, as you said earlier, he wasn't the main character.
No, he wasn't, but he was a big part of it. And the book, it was the first movie made into a book made into a movie that was done by oh God, what's the author's name?
Tom Clancy.
Tom Clancy, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first of his book. It was his first book, and it was the first one made into a movie.
Was that his first book? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that was his first book. He was still was he real estate salesman or something like that? I think before that. I mean, it was funny because I was a senior in high school when the book came out, or maybe it came out the year before, and we had to do. I was never a big reader in school, and one of my English teachers were doing a project. We had to read a novel and write something about it at the end of the class, and I didn't like the list we had of all the novels. They're all the classic stuff you read in high school. And I think my teacher was reading The Hunt for October and read us a portion of it at one point in the class to emphasize something about writing that I forgot. But
apparently did a lot of good.
Exactly.
But it wasn't wasted on you at all.
Can I read that for the novel I got to read? Because what he read was fantastic. And I'm like, that seems much more, fun to me. And he said, yeah, sure, let's do that. So I read the book for one of my classes in high school. And it was probably the only book I ever read cover to cover in high school, but it was great. And I was looking forward to it. And I knew he was going to be in it. And I was like, well, this is going to be fantastic. So that was something I had a lot of anticipation to see.
Yeah.
And it didn't let me down. It was a great movie.
It was really good.
Yeah. But if you look at the 90s, like even if we take it back to 89, and you look at the early part of the 90s, this guy was doing 1-2 films a year.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just and good films, good roles, right? And so that's the part of Sean Connery that I love.
He had 14 movies released in the 90s. And like you said, they were all pretty good sized movies that had, good following and were very anticipated.
13 in the 80s.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Which, by the way, Carrie in the chat room said family business. He had
Family Business,
a good amount of comedy, and I don't think I've seen that one.
No, I haven't either.
Okay. All right. That's why we have a chat room.
That was so long ago for me, Carrie. Carrie, you're putting me in the Wayback Machine. No.
I mean, that's kind of what we're doing here. So,
But don't forget. So in 90, he does The Hunt for Red October.
Mm-hmm.
And then he does The Russia House with Michelle Pfeiffer. Right. So, I mean, just big, right? Big in terms of grand movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just astounding, his work ethic and his stamina.
And then 91 Highlander 2.
Yeah,
basically
to stop that role he was on.
2 cameo movies. Highlander 2, I think he only really appeared in flashbacks. And then Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, he just had that cameo at the end. But
right.
Yeah, I mean, the 2 previous for 1990, those were big roles. And then, as you were saying, Lou, he went on from there to do Medicine Man in 92, which, by the way, that was Lorraine Bracco.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yep. I looked that up.
So I know that I've seen it, but I don't remember much of it. I remember basically what it was about.
Mm-hmm.
But it was one of those, at the time I saw it, it wasn't really my type of movie. This would have been about the time I was graduating high school and kind of not my thing. I mean, that same year, I think Terminator 2 came out. I was very much kind of moving in that direction with my media consumption, and Medicine Man was kind of like, oh, there's nothing else to watch tonight, and it's showing on cable, and I'm not tired enough to go to bed yet. So it was good, though. I remember thinking it was better than I expected it to be. But Rising Sun, I do remember that one.
Mm-hmm.
That was him and Wesley Snipes, right?
Yes.
And it had a lot to do. That was one of the first movies that I watched where I saw them take foreign culture seriously. Like the characters were actually talking about the fact, listen, you can't just go travel to another country and go in and be all American and have some respect. And so it was very much kind of about, interacting with that culture. I mean, there's a whole plot and everything going on too, but that was something at the time that really stood out.
This is a Michael Crichton novel.
Yes.
And Michael Crichton is one for doing his research and knowing the ins and outs of what he's talking about. And yeah, I mean, this was a Japanese corporation in the US that was, very much living their corporate lives by, the culture of Japan in the US. And it was kind of the clashing of their culture and our culture. And you had Sean Connery, who was, an expert in Japanese affairs and so forth. And Wesley Snipes was the American brash cop. But yeah, it was an excellent movie, excellent story.
I think the book was pretty good too. I think I read the book, and I seem to remember the movie being relatively close to the novel.
I think it was, yeah, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, a lot of Michael Crichton's adaptations ended up being making for pretty good movies. Maybe Timeline being the one exception.
Yeah,
and the book was okay for Timeline, but the movie wasn't. But most adaptations have been pretty good. he kind of lucked out that way. All right. What else do we have from the 90s, Lou? Or Robin, either one.
Let's see.
Robin, did you have... I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you out there.
It's okay. Go ahead, though.
I mean, we have The Rock, of course. First Night, which I actually enjoyed. That was King Arthur movie, right?
Another one I forgot.
Him and Richard Gere.
Mm-hmm. He and Richard Gere.
It was good.
He voiced Draco in Dragonheart.
Well, that's right. I never saw that.
It was so. It was his voice.
Yeah, it was. It was. That was the best part of the movie, really.
Exactly. Yeah.
But then you've got these other kinds of, I don't want to call them filler movies, but you've got A Good Man in Africa. You've got Just Cause. You've just got these movies, and then bam, you're hit with The Rock. He did do the Avengers.
Not the Marvel Avengers.
Not the Marvel Avengers.
We'll come back. Let's.
Avengers.
We'll come back to the Avengers after we get through the list. I think we should go back to The Rock.
Oh, sure. Obviously, The Rock is The Rock is one of those movies that I think he just capitalized on what he could bring to the movie to make it a really good movie. I think the interplay between him and Nick Cage made that movie.
It did. And it was a lot of fun, but it was also at the same time where in the 90s you had a lot of the whole one-liners from Schwarzenegger and Stallone, and he was doing some of that in this movie. And it took a little bit out of the movie from that kind of stuff, because he had a stupid line with the guy that had the Hummer and stuff. It was just like some of the things took me out of it, but he was such a good actor, you kind of overlooked it.
It was a Michael Bay film.
Wow.
Oh yeah, it was.
Wasn't it? It was one of Michael Bay's first really, really successful films. So the one-liners, not that surprising, really. Yeah,
that makes more sense now. Yep.
Yeah. So Lou, I know you've got to duck out here in a few minutes, but just to kind of get through the rest of the list here, because there's not really much more left. Robin, you mentioned the Avengers. There's also Entrapment, Finding Forrester, Playing by Heart, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. And my understanding is A League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, I had been told that he had such a bad experience on that movie that that was what caused him to retire from filmmaking. He did retire from filmmaking right after that. So, and I can understand why, because the Avengers and League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, those are both in my bottom 10 movies of all time. So the Avengers, we're not talking the Marvel Avengers. We're talking about the movie based on the old Avengers British television series what was it, the 50s or 60s? Early 60s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was fantastic. I love the Avengers.
Yep. Oh, and Uma Thurman, another just wonderful person that's right up there on my list with people like Nick Cage. And and no, I think it's just Nick Cage and Uma Thurman, really. Like they're
So I had intended to watch Finding Forrester before we recorded, and I never got to watch the whole thing. I started it, but
okay.
That's on my list. I want to finish watching that, because that was pretty good starting it.
Yeah.
Entrapment. It was a good movie. I remember it more for Catherine Zeta-Jones than him.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And her moving through the laser beam things, but
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, so to be fair, listen, I know this is, I don't mean for this to sound like, typical guys and all that, but the filmmakers specifically capitalized on using Catherine Zeta-Jones to get men's attention. I mean, in our defense.
Well, that is.
It was a good storyline. Yeah. I mean, I like a heist movie, so it was a good heist movie, but.
I mean, so I thought so at the time too, but I'm kind of with Robin. Like the more I've watched it,
I don't think I've seen it
in
years.
I'd rather actually watch The Heist or Ronin or The Italian Job or any number of other. We should cover heist movies.
We should. That'd be good.
That's what we should do. Ocean's 11, etc.
Yeah, so I just want to go back a beat because you've repeated this a couple of times now. He didn't retire because he did the movie League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I want to correct this.
I'd seen it reported from multiple different places. So, but if it's wrong, please correct it. I didn't just make it up, is what I'm saying.
No, he retired from what I have read because he was at this age where he wasn't being offered the same type of leading roles like the roles he was able to play when he was in James Bond and when he, was the leading romantic man, right? He was starting to get bit roles like the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
People do, like Ian McKellen and all of these older actors who do phenomenal things.
And he retired in 2011, a long time after League of Extraordinary.
He didn't do anything after that except, let's see, there's a TV series documentary, a video game, a TV movie documentary, and then a voiceover.
Just don't be a hater on League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Oh, no. Like, I hate that movie for entirely different reasons. I hate it because it's a horrible, atrocious excuse for what do they make film out of, celluloid or something? Like, it's just... Like, just think of how many pounds of waste are in landfills as a result of them making that movie. Like, the cost to this planet.
I completely disagree.
Just so tragic.
So there's an article in the Independent I'm looking through here now talking about him retiring and so forth. It says he was tempted to come back to do Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. He didn't.
Well, that was a smart move.
Yes, it was having too much fun in retirement. His publicist had said, where was the quote? The movie business retired him because he didn't want to play small parts about old men, and they weren't offering him any young parts in romantic leads. Kane also verified Connery's retirement in 2011, saying he won't make another film now. I just asked him. He said, no, I'll never do it. So.
Well, he was not offered a good role in League. I mean, again... That is an example of them not giving him anything useful because it sucked, and him not wanting.
Not because it sucked.
To suck.
But honestly, it feels like. Have you seen the movies Grumpy Old Men and Grumpier Old Men? Right. I think he didn't want to go down that road.
And that's fair. But again, so if you look at who's the guy that did Ben Kingsley, Ian McKellen, Patrick Stewart. Like, there are a lot of older guys who've done really, really, really well, and not that he has to. Like, listen, I'm making fun. I'm trying to make fun of those movies, not of his job in them, nor of him himself. If he wanted to retire, I mean, gosh darn it, he earned it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, more power to him. Holy cow. So, yeah, I don't want to, make it sound like I'm dissing Sean Connery. But yeah, he is right, though. He was getting offered. I mean, Entrapment, I don't think was a bad role, but I really do believe, especially the Avengers, his role, the character they gave him in the Avengers was awful. Yeah. The character they gave him in Extraordinary Gentlemen was better, but I still don't think that movie was up to his caliber of, like, even if it wasn't a trash movie, like I say it is, I don't think it was up to his caliber necessarily, but.
No, of course it wasn't.
So I can't blame him for, and Christopher Lee from the chat room. That's another example of someone who worked. Late into his career. But anyhow, Lou, I know you need to go. So we'll let you get your last word in here, and then Robin and I will wrap up the show together. If you're standing by your picks for your top 3 Sean Connery movies, right? Again, what were they again?
Yeah, so what I said Benson Man, Rising Sun, and
Hunt for Red October.
Hunt for Red October, yeah. Yeah, no, I'll say about those 3. I mean, for the most part, that's it for me. That's the 3 movies I remember him the most in.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Any other last words before I pull the plug on you here?
No, I think that's good. I'm sorry I can't be with you guys to the end, but I got to run.
That's okay. I think we're almost wrapping up anyway, so.
Yeah,
sounds good, guys.
Cool. All right, Lou.
Thanks.
Catch you later. Oh, and I turned off the wrong monitor. Let's fix that.
Yeah, I'll stay. There you go. Turn
Poor
me off
Robin.
and bring Robin back on.
My gosh.
Oh, that's fine.
Well, and Robin will be very happy because now
there's Yo Baby. Now I'm just going to gaze into
somebody in the background
eyes.
there. Yeah. So,
so yeah.
I guess we really did kind of wrap up there.
Yeah.
So,
well, you know what? I'm standing by my picks, and I have to say, I am usually not a person that's affected when we lose people in the entertainment industry. I mean, it's just because we know their names doesn't mean, we knew them.
Right.
But for some reason, this one hit me a little harder than most. And I think it was because I've had a long relationship with his movies. I'm a huge James Bond fan. And
as is Tim, your husband.
Yep. And so, it's perfect. But I am drawn to his presence in a movie. And even though I clearly have, not missed it since 2011, because I was entertaining myself otherwise, you always still hold that hope out, maybe he'll show up in another movie, who knows?
Right.
But now he can't. It's sort of like when we lost Tom Petty. Tom Petty is, sort of the soundtrack of my youth. And that was another loss that was like, oh, holy crap. Tom Petty is never going to look like Gandalf in a Super Bowl halftime show again.
Was that something you were aiming for? Was that
no, it's just that's what he looked like when he did the Super Bowl halftime show. But so it is one of those moments where you just want to say, wow, there's a really great actor that we're not going to see anymore.
Yeah. I felt the same way about Robin Williams passing, I think. And I think, so we mentioned this a little bit on Random Chatter too. We've had some young actors pass away fairly recently, Chadwick Boseman being the most recent.
Right.
And I think that, and Robin Williams was older, but I think it was tragic because of the disease he was suffering from. Mm-hmm. Sean Connery, rather, what we felt made it different from Chadwick Boseman was the fact that Chadwick Boseman felt like we were robbed of his future. Well, and more so, he was robbed of his future, and his family and friends were on a more personal level. But speaking as audience members, we were robbed of all of the future projects that he could have brought to our culture. Whereas Sean Connery, he had a very full career, and we have a career of his to celebrate. And while it's sad, it was not a surprise. He was 90. Mm-hmm. And it's I mean, we're all going to go someday, and we can only hope that we have some sort of impact on the world around us. And I think that we can all at least celebrate the fact that Sean Connery did have an effect. He brought us countless hours of entertainment and some really good stories. I mean, some of these movies are, aside from his performance in them, they're just really good stories. They're great works of fiction, and he participated in those. And so we have an opportunity to be grateful. And again, I want to say, to celebrate his works as opposed to just focusing on the loss. Instead, we get to focus on what we gained through him.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, I think that is probably a good place to wrap on our coverage of Sean Connery, a little retrospective there. What do you think going forward? See, I know it's on me to pick the next movie because we're going back into a rotational thing. And I was having a really hard time coming up with, I came up with a couple of ideas, but I know we're trying to, especially right now, especially this week, trying to find some things that are maybe a little more lighthearted. And the heist movie thing maybe really isn't a bad idea. Do you have any thoughts on doing a few heist movies?
Well, there's some really good ones out there. I mean, the Italian Job, the Oceans series.
Uh-huh.
I mean, there's got to be way more than that.
Oh yeah. Ronin with Jean Reno and was it Robert De Niro? There was The Heist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think why don't we? I mean, we could at least do one each. I think of heist movies, and that'll kind of take us into the holiday season anyway. So let's do that. I'm going to pick The Italian Job. I really like The Italian Job.
I was just going to say that. But I'd like to talk about both of them. I'd like to talk about the original Italian Job.
Oh, see, I have not seen the original. Dang it. And I thought I was going to get out of it without having to do any homework, Robin.
No,
my gosh, it's almost like you're a professor or something.
Yeah, the original is so they're just good. They're just good. They're good together. And it's not a sequel. So folks out there, don't think of it that way, but they are complementary and different at the same time. Okay.
Do you happen to know, I'm not going to cite you on specific years or anything, but ballpark, when did the original come out?
Oh,
it's not black and white, is it? I'll still watch it, but it's not that old, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Robin.
Well, because the remake was, it's 1969. But it's so.
The score. Thank you, Tom, in the chat room. The score. That was a good one.
It's Michael Caine. It's
Okay, so that's good. That's a plus. All right, I'll watch it.
It's really good. And Michael Caine was Sean Connery's. So I just need to say, one final thing. The Man Who Would Be King. When we ran across it, and Tim and I decided to watch it, I was reading up about it, and it is billed as the best buddy movie of all time.
Really?
So, yes. And so it was, I know I was texting you while I was watching it, think Shakespeare on, long play, but,
yeah, which was not like a ringing endorsement for me because
it wasn't. But then when I started watching it as, the interplay of the relationship between the two men, Michael Caine and Sean Connery, I came to appreciate it, much more. So,
okay.
But yeah, I just wanted to put that out there.
Maybe I will go back and rewatch that because I really like Michael Caine a lot too. And I didn't realize it was the two of them. If that movie was the two of them as the leads, is that what?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I may watch that then. I would enjoy that. Well, let's do that then. So for the next episode of Movie Chatter, we will do The Italian Job. Now, to be fair to our audience, we will probably focus more heavily on the more modern one because I think it will be more accessible to people. But I think, yeah, it's important to kind of be able to compare and contrast it to the original. So we don't expect you all out there to watch the old one. We love you. We don't want to do that to you. But the three of us.
If you were in my film studies class, you would have to.
Well, yeah, because, cracking the whip
just like
over
I
here.
make my students watch both Murder on the Orient Expresses so we could talk about
the fact that one has a Daisy Ridley in it and one does not.
Or one has a Sean Connery in it and one does not. That's saying.
Wasn't Kenneth Branagh in one of them?
Kenneth Branagh was the director and yes.
Of the good one, right? The Daisy Ridley one, right?
Yes. Yes.
Of the one with my future ex-wife.
Be on the same, right. Yeah. He got to be on the same screen as Daisy Ridley. Yes.
Yeah, I'm jealous. Anyway, so Italian Job next week. In the meantime, don't forget to check out the other movies that we've covered here on the channel. And you can do that by either checking out the podcasts through randomchatter.com or watching on YouTube. And we're trying to kind of push the YouTube thing. We would really like it if you guys would start to migrate over there. Even if you're just listening, you can pop up the YouTube video and leave it run in the background and hear it as you're walking around the house or your cubicle or whatever. So check us out, randomchatter.com/YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button down below and the little button to get notifications for when we post new videos. And I think it should notify when new streams go live too. So that's also convenient. And if you like it, hit the like button. If you watch a bunch of the videos there and you like each of those, hit each of the like buttons. And that helps us out a lot. Now, if you want more notifications about when we go live, not just for this show, but for any of the other streams, as well as when other episodes get posted, and just want to hang out and talk movies or talk Star Wars, The Mandalorian. We've got a very active channel for The Mandalorian right now, and all kinds of different things. Hit our Discord server. Go to randomchatter.com/Discord, and there'll be a link in the show notes down below. And it's free to join. There are channels for each one of the shows on the network. There's some additional channels there. Lots of places to hang out and talk about stuff. For those who donate through Patreon, even if it's just $1 a month to kind of help keep the network up and running, we have, as a special thank you, as a way to give you something back, we created additional channels in Discord. So if you're interested in checking that out, I mean, really, for that $1 a month, you get a lot of content there. I think a lot of really good conversations going on there. So consider doing that. randomchatter.com/Patreon. Anything else I'm forgetting, Robin? I feel like I've got most of that down in my head, but it's been a long week, and it would not surprise me if I'm.
Yeah, I was just watching Yo Baby. So.
Oh yeah. Hello.
I was spacing out there. Other side.
I'm going to be watching him for real here in about I guess maybe 5 hours.
There you go.
3 a.m. Eastern time, I think, is when the next episode of The Mandalorian drops. Speaking of which, the next stream we will be doing will be Saturday morning around 8 a.m. Eastern time, maybe 8:30 or so. That'll be Eastern time. Here in the U.S. is GMT -5 for those of you internationally. So be sure to check that out. That's for Outer Rim. We're continuing our coverage of The Mandalorian on Disney+. Then Sunday night will be Random Chatter and Echo Base. And then we will be back again next week, next Tuesday night, with coverage of The Italian Job. So that's going to do it. Until then, take care, everybody. We'll see you again real soon.